Deep in the forest of Westeros, ancient trees stand as silent witnesses to thousands of years of history. The Weirwoods, with their haunting faces carved into the trunks, are more than just trees. They are the sacred vessels of the old gods, the keepers of memories, and the gateway to the magical power of Greenseers. So, what are weirwoods exactly? Well, weirwoods are trees, but they are ancient, magical trees that are found only in Westeros. Many of these weirwoods have faces carved into the white of the bark, often by the followers of the old gods, and in some cases with the more ancient weirwoods. It is believed that they were carved by the children of the forest, or maybe even some of the green men that now maybe magically somewhat reside on the um, Isle of Faces at the God's Eye. But weirwoods are more than just trees. They are, again, living relics that deeply connect to the natural world and the magical forces of Westeros. Their longevity, their magical properties, and the connection to these old gods make them central to the spiritual beliefs of the children of the forest, the first men, and in this day, the Northerners, much like the Starks, the Karstarks, all of those guys. So again, the Weirwoods are representatives of the old gods. They are a symbol of spirituality for those in the north and the children of the forest and the first men. They are again physical manifestations of the old god and give places for those that follow them somewhere to worship. But with that, they also are the memory and the history of Westeros, of the North, of the ancient past, of the children in the forest, and all that transpired leading up to the present day. Through their carved faces, it is believed that they, and with the interaction between Bloodraven and Bran and all of that good stuff, it's kind of known that they act as witnesses to the past. They store memories and the different events that transpire throughout Westeros, things that they are able to see. And again, things that I think that Greenseers in this world see when they connect to the Weirwoods and die. The children, when they die, they go back into the trees. It is all one big collective knowledge network that is able to be tapped into. And again, with that, they are also connection to the natural world itself, to nature. They embody harmony and the reverence that the children and the first men had for the natural world itself, something that has been forgotten in the present day of Westeros and many of the houses in the different regions. It is all about their own personal gain, all about self instead of the natural world, about the overall, about that collective. It and it shapes who they are and has kind of turned the world into what it is, and has the children just whispered of fantasy and myth and all of those different things the White Walkers are not believed in because they have stepped away from that connection that the children and the first men initially had with the Weirwoods, with this collective network. They are part of the magic that makes up this world. The Weirwoods are linked massively to the Greenseers and their ability to see visions of the past, of the present, of the future. And it ties them into a magical tapestry of sorts, much like the beginning of season 2 and how you see the tapestry being woven. That is what the Weirwoods do as they sit and they watch and they collect. They weave this tapestry of history together and allows Greenseers like Bran Stark, like Bloodraven, and maybe even the Targaryens and stuff with some like dreams. I don't know how much that all connects. I know that like Melisandre's more powerful when she's closer to the wall. Maybe being in Westeros enhances some of the powers of the natural dragon dreams. Anyway, I kind of mentioned in one of my videos about the blood of the children and how it is very similar to the blood of the dragon, and maybe with that, those like blood raven that aren't of the blood of the first men per se, or the children, are able to tap into this magic, this woven tapestry. Weirwood trees are native strictly to Westeros. They originally spread throughout the entire continent, but over time, mostly due to the invasion of the Andals, these trees were cut down and all but wiped out, especially in the south. The Andals, as they came in and started originally, I think, just using whatever tree they could for burning, for fires, for building things, for making weapons. When they then started fighting with the first men and the children of the forest, the faces in the trees started really to wig them out, because at that point they figured out that somehow or another these little people and these first men are able to know what we're doing somehow because of these trees. So they really started cutting down the weirwoods. So in the South, there are very, very few, except for the rare exception of like the Owl of Faces on in the God's Eye, where an ancient grove of weirwoods still stand, preserved by the green men that take care of these trees, that protect these trees. It was like part of the pact that we will leave these here, never touch them, are bad. Um, and so, with that though, is as you go farther north in the Seven Kingdoms, you come to the north, and throughout the north, there are so many more God's woods, and each God wood has their heart tree, their weirwood tree. The most notable, of course, being Winterfell, where in the very beginning you see Ned Stark sitting there as Catelyn comes in, and she's like feeling the eyes watching her, and just feeling like such an outsider because she's from the South. And it just, again, whipped her out, just really gave her the creeps. But that's like one of the most notable godswoods and weirwood trees in the north. But then as you get farther north and you pass the wall and you get into the haunted forest, there is an abundance of untouched weirwoods. There are weirwoods with faces, weirwoods that have none at all, and it has to be like a really pretty sight with all of that snow and the weirwoods everywhere. It would have to be, again, a little haunting as well. Again, the weirwood trees are unique to Westeros, but there are other regions within the known world that have flora that have magical and legendary things associated with them. There is the black tree of Yeti. In Essos, Yeti is said to have black bark trees with golden leaves that hold religious significance and some of the local traditions. And I would love to like learn if somehow these two trees were came about being at the same time. Like, was it the long night and the disruption of the Weirwood Ned, of Azor High being sacrificing Nisa Nisa, the cracking of the moon? Did these trees, were they like originally like big old oak trees that like the one that's on Dunk's shield that he's, underneath in the beginning of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms? Um, Martin's always linking things up, and everything kind of means something. So I wonder if these trees again started out as something like that. And then when one of these massive world changing events happened, magically these trees came into being. And you have one with white bark, and one with black, one with blood red leaves, and one with golden leaves. And it would be cool to like get an Arya spinoff, like maybe the HBO movie that they're talking about making will like lead us to Yeti, and she'll come across these black bark trees with golden leaves and find out that the locals have similar traditions um, regarding these trees and gods as like the Starks and the people of the North do with the Weirwoods. I kind of like that tree. I think it's pretty interesting. While the Weirwoods are unparalleled in their magical and cultural significance, Their presence and lore emphasizes the connection to nature, faith, and magic across the world of ice and fire. Through them, we see how the history and spirituality of Westeros are deeply rooted in the ancient forest, reminding us that the past never truly dies. It lives on through the roots of this world. And with that, the Greenseers are able to tap into this world, this knowledge, this abundance of history. The Greenseers are rare individuals with mystical abilities that allow them to connect with the Weirwoods to tap into this ancient magic. They use the Weirwoods as conduits to access visions. Um, Greenseers are able to see events from the past, the present, the future, through the faces of the Weirwoods. The ability to suggest the Weirwood act as a vessel network for stories, memories, and transmitting of visions. Damon sleeping in the Weirwood bed at Harrenhal in season 2 of House of the Dragon, and the visions that come with it. Again, just because he's a Targaryen, I think that magic, the magic in the blood, from the blood of the forest to the blood of the dragon, it even, I think he's also going to be a Greenseer. I'm just going to say it. I really do. He's going to be like the Greenseer before Bloodraven. But I'm sorry. Back to what we're talking about. Weirwoods, not that. But with that, they are able to give visions to people that need it. Jaime, having his Weirwood vision of being down in the deep dark, thinking it's like Castle Rock with Brienne, and it's the visions come through this network. And I think the Greenseers are able to tap into it, but I think that the Weirwood Net is also able to tap into the Greenseers as well as other individuals with magical blood of sorts. They also witness and influence the past. While their primary power is to observe, some Greenseers might slightly influence the past, seen in Bran Stark's ability when he interacts with Ned at the Tower of Joy in his vision with the three-eyed raven. It's a possibility that could happen, and the butterfly events that would unfold if someone like Bran ever did influence the past, not just witness what all transpired. There is travel of spirituality through the Weirwoods dreams. The Greenseers can project their consciousness across vast distances, observing people in places from like far, far away. Arya being able to see so many different things as she worked through Nymeria and pulled her mother from the river, and was able to have her, or she didn't like have anything to do with the resurrection per se, but Catelyn became Lady Stoneheart after that. Arya looking through the eyes of Cat as she's across the narrow sea in Bravos, she's able to work vast distances. Bran um, interacting with Jon in one of Jon's Weirwood wolf dreams, and they're not close to each other, but they are able to project their consciousness, their minds, like astral projection. And with that, I think some Greenseers can control nature, particularly amongst like the children of the forest. The way they are believed to use their powers to manipulate the environment, such as calling animals to their aid, calling on the world, the greenery, nature to do what needs to be done, making things grow to produce fruit or whatever they kind of would do. But I think also they, as the children, are able to the calling of the hammer. The the calling of the when they call down the water on the hammer of Dorne and totally wipe that out. That is so controlling nature. If they force that to happen. What is it? There are a couple of different cases we'll have to get into on another day. Or I will go off on a tangent. This video will be like a million hours long. But with that, weirwoods serve as a medium, anchoring these greenseers, anchoring their power, and connecting them again to that overall collective, that memory, that tapestry that is woven with all the things that the weirwoods were able to observe, all the things that the greenseers, that their weirwoods kind of, I think, absorbed after their death, absorbing their memories. Um, it all, they use that and allow the greenseers to do that as well, which will help them influence past, present, and future. So the Weirwoods and Greenseers, they like go hand in hand. You can't like have one without the other. And the Greenseers possess the ability for green sight, again, seeing past, present, and future. They have the ability to ward, uh, and uh, take their consciousness and put it into the body of an animal or even a person. In Hodor's case, they can communicate with the Weirwoods and tap into all of that ancient knowledge. Um, and it gives them an awareness, unlike any other people within Westeros. There have been several different key people throughout the many stories of Ice and Fire that are notable greenseers. The main one being the three-eyed raven, Brandon Stark. I mean, Brandon Rivers, sorry. That was a Targaryen bastard, was a master at warding and greenseeing, I think. And I think that's why he was such a pivotal character in the Blackfire Rebellion and stuff like that. But after disappearing from the wall, he went missing and no one knew what happened. But of course, we know that he became the three-eyed raven and has guided Bran through his entire journey. Then, of course, there's Bran falling and seeing the raven and struggling to get to the cave and learning about his abilities. And the children of the forest, they of course had many different greenseers that are now a part of the collective and stuff. Jojen Reed is one that without him Bran wouldn't have made it as far as he did. But then there's also like the Night's King, that legends say that the Night King may have wielded dark sorcery, and if he was tied to the Weirwoods, it might explain some of this mystical influence that the Night King had over the North. There was also the Bloodstone Emperor that you can kind of maybe see as like a greenseer. I think perhaps he was because of him being a big ruler of the Dawn Age, the Bloodstone Emperor, um, may have practiced some like dark rituals involving trees and plants and different things like that. And again, that black bark tree with the golden leaves being in Yeti, and it really does make me think that he was a greenseer of some sort. There's so many different cases throughout Martin's world where certain creatures, certain people, certain things are similar here as they are over here, but not quite the same. And I think that magic it travels the entire world. It's not just Westeros that has magical creatures. It's not just the Targaryens that have magical properties in their blood that allow them to do certain things. And then you have like the ghost of High Heart. She is a little woman with prophetic dreams that meets up with Arya and is like, "Get away from me, you little child! You got death all over you." And I have gorged on death at Summerhall. But with the way she is, she's like a woods witch, and much like I think like Maggie the Frog, they are magical. They are part of nature. They are in tuned to the natural world, unlike many within Westeros in the present time aren't. So I think that the ghost of High Heart may have been a greenseer. She may have had some of that blood of the forest in her veins, which allowed her to see these visions, to tap into the weirwood, and to advise egg to marry his son and daughter when they hated each other because the prince that was promised would come from their bloodline. It again, the magic all kind of intertwines a little bit, I think, and so I think the Ghost of High Heart again was another Greenseer. Greenseers, through their connection to the Weirwoods, bridge the mortal and magical realms of Westeros. Their abilities have shaped the course of history, from the Children of the Forest resisting the First Men to Bran Stark and his role in the upcoming fight against the White Walkers. The full extent of their power, of its impact, remains one of the greatest mysteries of A Song of Ice and Fire. The old gods are nameless, faceless deities worshipped by the children of the forest, the first men, and many of the northern houses, even in this day. But unlike the structured faith of the seven, the old gods are tied to nature and are venerated through this sacred weirwood. While much about them remains mysterious, their worship is deeply spiritual and emphasizes the harmony with nature and the natural world, and the reverence of the weirwoods and all that they embody. The key aspects of the old gods are mainly nature based worship, silent communion in the forest, um, being open to the spiritual influences of the gods through visions, through dreams, through prophecy, and the use of green sight. And then again, also with their ancestral ties to this world, to this culture, to this faith, through blood, through shared bonds and experiences and memories that are all stored within the Weirwoods. Um, the Weirwoods are sacred vessels. Again, something that the Northerners, the children of the forest, and the first men held sacred, throughout which the old gods are able to manifest. The carved faces in the trees serve as eyes, allowing the gods, the Greenseers, tied to these trees, to observe events, good or bad. And this connection makes the Weirwood central to the old gods' worship and means of spiritual communication. Greenseers act as interpreters that are able to amplify themselves with this connection. They are able to use their abilities with the Weirwoods for these visions, these little blurry dreams that blur the lines between divine influence and natural magic, suggesting that the old gods may not be gods in their traditional sense, but rather, again, the collective memory and will of all of these people that have been tied together for thousands of years, wanting to make sure that their way of life, their culture, their beliefs, their, again, reverence for nature and harmony with the world around them to be carried on. So, what are the theories about the future of the old gods and the Weirwoods? Well, one of them is that the role of the Weirwoods in the final battle, that the Weirwoods may serve as conduits for Bran Stark and other Greenseers in the fight against the White Walkers. Bran's connection to the Weirwood Network suggests that it could play a crucial role in gathering knowledge, um, predicting events, and influencing things that were to come, influencing battles, influencing all the different events. Some theories also think that the Weirwoods themselves could be used as a weapon, that like the Greenseers could channel their power like into the Weirwood somehow and like actually go into battle like the trees in the Lord of the Rings, coming in and like kicking butt. I'm not too sure about that. That would be really interesting to see, but I'm not sure about that one. I do think that Bran and those that do have any magical powers, like his siblings with their warging, and maybe even again Dany with her blood of the dragon, blood of the forest, all coming back in, we'll be able to use the Weirwoods for that purpose. One of the other ones is that the increasing dominance of the faith of the Seven in the South and their culture threatens the survival of the Weirwoods, and that, however, the rediscovery of Greenseers and Bran being able to tap into the network comes about, the three-eyed raven may lead to a resurgence of the old ways of the old gods to help preserve himself and the Weirwoods. Um, in one of my videos, I talk about the three-eyed raven being like an ancient parasite, and that he uses the Weirwoods to do nothing more than to keep himself alive. And I say himself as like just an entity, that collective knowledge, desperate to possess a new younger body, to keep their way going, to keep the the humans, the greens, the children of the forest, the ancient first men, to do their prayers, to add their collective, their energy, all of that into the Weirwood system, which keeps this entity going. And that could happen. At least that's what I kind of think, in that the three-eyed raven um, is truly not a good guy and manipulates the system as much as he can. And I think that will have something to do with how the long night plays about. He like may start it himself unintentionally, or had started it himself unintentionally in the past, and is there's all kinds of crazy theories. Um, but there's also the theory that Weirwoods may hold the key to the understanding of humanity's past and the evolution of Westeros. There's the one where the old gods and the White Walkers are again intertwined. Some think that the two sides are two sides of the same magical coin, kind of. You can't have one without the other, a little yin and a little yang, and that these forces represent life and death, and the struggle that all humanity, all of Westeros, fight with every day. And the Weirwoods serve as kind of a battleground for these mystical beings, for this magical conflict between life and death continues. So, in conclusion, after like just spewing all of this stuff at you about the Weirwoods and the Weirwood Net and all of that, my conclusion truly is about the Weirwoods, that they are a collective memory. I think of like Avatar, and how the lady, I think her name's Joyce. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. Um, the scientist lady is explaining how the trees talk to each other throughout this massive net, and that the indigenous people are able to connect into it and tap into memory and history. It's the same kind of thing. And that when they die, their spirit goes into this collective. I do think that that is what the Weirwoods are. Um, I do think that the Weirwood started as a regular old tree, but throughout one of, again, the traumatic events that happened in the world of ice and fire, from Azor Ahai and Nisa Nisa to the Long Night, the Night's King and Queen, something happened that corrupted these trees, that corrupted this system of knowledge and collective energy that kept everything in balance in this world. And that with this corruption of these trees, the bark's white and the red leaves, and I really do think that it will have something to do kind of with, again, the black bark trees with the gold leaves in ET. But something happened, and it shifted these trees into something unnatural. And I think at that point, that's when maybe like the original Night King, not the Night's King at the Dreadfort, but the real like Night King of the White Walkers, came into existence the same time that the entity that we know of as the Three-Eyed Raven came into existence. Life and death, the beginning of the world. It happened, boom, just big bang, and these entities were always there. And as life formed, they fight over the souls and the energy of these people of Westeros, of these people of the known world, because it all flows and intertwine with one another like a big cobweb. And I think that again, I'm not saying that the Night's King is a good guy. I don't think he is, but I don't think that the Three-Eyed Raven is a good guy either. And this entity, has learned to tap into the Weirwood net like a Greenseer. If he wasn't the first Greenseer, that gave his abilities to others magically some way, with the twisting of this stuff and using the Weirwoods and all of this, has manipulated countless generations of children of the forest, first men, Andals, and the modern day Westerosi into continuing this battle between life and death, between not particularly good and evil, because in George's world, everything's more gray. There is no real good and evil. Every character has a good side, and they also have a bad side, and at times they outweigh each other. But it's not about good and evil. It's just about survival. And I think that the Weirwoods are just a tool in this great war between these two entities. But with that, the Weirwoods, they do symbolize um, the tension between the old world and the new as well, the magical and the mundane, the everyday. Um, as in the story of A Song of Ice and Fire, in this world, as it unfolds around us, we may see that they represent humanity's ability to reconcile with ancient roots, with ancient traditions and culture, despite the changing world. That no matter how advanced your world gets, no matter how far technology and medicine and your way of thinking takes your culture, your family, your bloodline, that it all needs to still root back to that world of nature, the world of being in tune with the world around you, not just plants and trees and animals, but with your fellow man. And I think that with that, humans' ability again to reconcile with this is shown in the Weirwoods, and how they continue on despite being cut down in so many places, despite the faith of the Seven coming in and dominating more than half of Westeros. The faith of the old gods continue. The worship at the heart trees continue. The belief that collective knowledge continues. And it is kind of like the heart and soul of Westeros. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, have a great day and see you soon.